Hi, everyone, and welcome to this NCEA session called No Hay Excusas, exploring the many ways to get our Latino parents involved in our Catholic schools. I wish I could be there in person with you all, but we'll try to make this work virtually. My name is Manny Fernandez, and I'm the program director for the Latino Enrollment Institute for the Alliance for Catholic Education at the University of Notre Dame. Before my current role, I was a teacher for 12 years at a Catholic school near downtown Los Angeles, and then I taught for 3 years at a public school here in Indiana, where I currently live. And throughout my years as a teacher, I'd say that well over 90% of my students were Latino. And in my current role in working with Catholic schools throughout the country, as we help to attract and serve Latino families, one common refrain I hear from both school leaders and teachers alike is, we can't get our Latino parents to participate in our school like the parents of our Anglo students. And without the proper tools to engage these parents, it's a totally fair assessment from these educators of where they are. And so what I want to do today is to dispel a few myths and give you all tangible, practical ideas, things that you can do tomorrow to improve not only Latino parent involvement in the school, but also improve the health of the school and also the success of your students, because as you will soon see, all that is tied together. And so I'll be digging into specific things that you can do to ensure more parent Latino involvement. Because look, we all want parents who are personally invested in the education of their children. But there's a major misnomer that Latino parents whose English is not necessarily their native tongue, or who are new to the system of education in the United States, that they don't care about their child's education because they don't show up at the school's Monte Carlo gambling night, or they don't make a parent conference at 2:30 in the afternoon when they're working, or they don't join their child's class on a field trip. Nothing could be further from the truth, especially at a Catholic school. Contrary to popular belief in certain circles, in Latino cultures, they firmly believe that a good education is the lever for future success economically in the United States. They believe that education is the embodiment of the American dream. So the Latino parents at your school, perhaps more than most, absolutely understand that their child's education is paramount. But culturally, the way we go about it in the United States and the way they go about it are just a bit different. I'm not saying either is right or one is better than the other. I'm just saying the way things are done in Latin American countries are different than they're done here. So let's quickly explore why Latino parents might not be involved in the school. First, what does the definition of involved mean for you? What we consider involved in our system of education in the United States is different than what a Latino parent might be accustomed to. Some examples of a Latino parent being involved in schools in their minds are on this slide. Number one, they feed their kids a good breakfast before school. To them, that's important and being involved in the school, in the education of their child. They give their child a dedicated place inside their house to do their homework. If you're in a small apartment with lots of people, that's a bigger deal than probably us who live in bigger houses can imagine. They make sure they get to bed early to get a good night's sleep. And they implore their children every morning to behave in school and to respect their teachers. Do yourself a favor and watch a Spanish-speaking mother or father drop her child off at school and listen to what they say. Pórtate bien, which means behave. Escucha tu maestra, listen to your teacher. And then they'll do the sign of the cross with a kiss of their thumb on their child. In their culture, that is participating in their child's education. And as a teacher, if it helps their child listen in class and behave, that's huge. So when you think about it, the things on this slide most definitely help their children. And as I just mentioned, they help our teachers. Those are wonderful things. But our own educational system in the United States asks parents to be partners with schools in more intimate ways than the ones I just described. So before we move on to some strategies, I want to quickly explore why Latino parents aren't participating in your schools. This is a critical piece in fostering great participation. So Latino parents, number one, here's one reason why. Latino parents often misunderstand their role in their children's education because they don't understand the concept of involvement as defined by the school and as defined by our system of education in the United States. What may be driving a parent's behavior is fear or lack of understanding in the role of their role in the school system. Think about it, where they're from, being a direct partner in education with the school most likely wasn't the case. In Mexico or Guatemala or Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic, the academic education is the job of the school, while the parents were responsible for the children outside of the school. It's like a separation of powers, so to speak. And they truly believe, especially in Catholic schools, that the children and the principals are the experts in education. The teachers went to college, they're educated, so the parents don't feel they're qualified to be a partner with the school, and so they stay out of it. Number two, language barriers. This one's pretty self-explanatory, of course. For many immigrant parents, their lack of experience with the English language has a negative influence on their ability to be involved in their children's school. These challenges create a real barrier that we must recognize. Number three, class or status. If you have a diverse school and there are lower socioeconomic Latinos in the same school as more affluent Anglos and African Americans, or say even third and fourth generation Latinos, it can be very intimidating to be in the same group of people who have more means than you do. And we see it all the time where very well-meaning parents try and invite immigrant families to be involved in school functions, and there's still a reluctance there, many times through no fault of the dominant culture at all. Number four, lower levels of education. This is in the same vein as class status, which we just mentioned. Not having the same level of education could lead to more feelings of not only inferiority, but also of what can I possibly bring to the table that the school doesn't already have, or that these other parents already offer. So I reiterate, it's not that they don't care. It's that they may not know or understand our system of education, or they may be feeling scared or inferior, or all of the above. So let's get to the strategies. In this presentation, I'm suggesting 6 things that you can do starting tomorrow that will help foster participation in your school with Latino parents. And we'll start with number 1, educate the parents. Before you do anything, if you have a reticent base of Latino parents, you have to educate them on not just the importance of education, not the importance of education. As I said, they already know how important it is, or they wouldn't be sending their children to a Catholic school, and they wouldn't have left their lives back home if they didn't want a better life for their children. We want to educate them on how they can help their child grow in education, how they are partners in this educational system with the teachers and the school community. In one study of immigrant parents and schooling, I thought this remark from a father was very telling. He said, as a first-time dad, I thought my job was to send my kid to school and check his homework, but that the real responsibility belonged to the school teachers and the school. And coming from where he did and admitting all of this was new to him, that's a totally fair assessment. So we need to show them that there are tangible benefits of spending time with their children and their school and motivating them on their academic journey. We must educate the parents on U.S. schooling, on the importance of homework, on the routines of the school day and the routines of the school year, and how we want and encourage them to be partners with us in this education. As you are doing this, you can praise them for sending their children to a Catholic school, because it shows not only that their devotion to teaching their children the Catholic faith, but also to getting them the best education possible. I told you earlier about how in Latino cultures, they truly believe that education is the lever for future success economically. So praise them for choosing this path and show them how important their involvement and their expectations are for their children. And I'll show you on this slide, I'm going to give you some highlights of a few studies right here that you can use when speaking with them. For example, in a qualitative study of Mexican-American families, daughters perceived their mothers to be instrumental in shaping their educational aspirations. So right here, you can drive the point home that daughters are looking directly at their mothers for support in their schooling. Their mothers are heroes to them. And so let's use that. Let's leverage that in talking with these parents. In other studies, educational aspirations from Latino parents provided positive academic results. Another study found parental educational expectations to be the strongest predictor of mathematic achievement for Latino students. So when the parents set high expectations and remain involved in their child's education, good things happen academically for their child. Again, this is uncharted water for so many Latino immigrants, and with so many foreign concepts for these families to get used to, to even learn, we as educators can be the bridge between the parents and the school community on the norms of U.S. education, and in the end, a bridge to a successful, faith-filled life for their children. You can make these same arguments to those parents, and I truly believe you'll see the shift in how they want to participate and volunteer and be partners with you and your school community. So I'm going to take a second. I want you to take a second to think about exactly how you can begin educating Latino parents on how important this partnership is between the school and the family, and to the education of their children. Let's move on to number 2. Build authentic relationships. Become partners with the parents. Educating parents is an ongoing thing that you might find yourself doing yearly, monthly, weekly, even daily sometimes. But as you are educating your parents, you should also be building authentic relationships with them. When I started giving talks to teachers over 15 years ago about classroom management and when it comes to the role of culture in Latino families and Latino students, I used to lead every talk with the importance of building relationships with students and families, because there wasn't a lot of talk about it on a broader scale back then. Now you hear it everywhere, which is fantastic and shows you how far we've come. But if you take anything away from today's talk, it should be that you need to educate the families on how they can be partners with the school, and that you need to build authentic relationships with your Latino families. This is paramount above all else, number 1 and number 2. Whether it is school culture, classroom management, marketing, advancement, you name it, so much of what makes our schools successful with Latino families, students, and the Latino community at large is the relationship piece. In Latino culture and much of the world outside of the US, really, relationships matter the most. Whereas Americans tend to value time and are task-oriented, Latinos value relationships. I'll take, for example, in the medical field. Latinos have a harder time with your typical Western doctor, because sometimes, or a lot of times, through no fault of their own necessarily, the Western doctors, the American doctors, they might seem hurried, detached, aloof. And because of this, it reduces the likelihood of compliance with the doctor's recommendations for treatment and follow-up with Latino families. In a Latino's mind, physicians should be relationship builders and should be attentive, take their time, show respect, if possible, communicate in Spanish. Now, if you're a doctor and you have 20 patients to see in just a couple of hours, I get it. It's not always possible to take your time with patients. I'm just saying, with some of your families, where some of your families are coming from, their doctors take a different tact. And the same thing can be said about school leaders and educators. Latinos simply will respond better to relationship builders who show they care over someone who is businesslike and task-oriented. I'm not judging either set of values. I see value in both relationships and being task-oriented. And believe me, I get just as frustrated as the next guy when Latinos show up late to school functions or to school. I get that. I'm just saying there's a difference in culture, and there's nothing wrong with it. And so we say time and time again is that you have to build relationships in order to attract and serve Latino families, because that's just what they're accustomed to, and it works better for them. So because of this, you want to do as much in-person communication as possible. Direct person-to-person contact is best when communicating with Latino families. In a study of high-performing Hispanic schools near the border in Texas, here are some strategies used by school staff to make personal contact with parents. Number 1, they created opportunities for positive interaction on a regular basis. Number 2, they engaged in small talk with parents. They called parents by phone, and they made home visits. Now, in larger schools and in high schools, this isn't such an easy task. But for school leaders, that's where delegation or organization is essential. We do this for students when we see they're about to fail, so we know how to do it. And for teachers that see over 100 kids a day in high schools and some middle schools, that might mean targeting certain kids first that you really think need that more relationship building with their families, and then going from there. But being proactive about building relationships with parents helps the students and families, and in turn, it helps the school in so many ways. Also, do home visits. Now, at the beginning of this session, I said I wanted you to give, I was going to give you tangible ideas that you could use tomorrow when you return to the classroom and return to the school. So I guess I lied, because obviously it's not my position that you should be doing home visits right now during coronavirus this time. But in normal times, and things are looking up, and so I truly believe we'll get there soon. In normal times, home visits can be such a valuable tool, as they help parents develop a more positive attitude towards teachers and towards the school overall. In a study of high-performing Hispanic schools in Texas, parents saw home visits as an extension of courtesy on the part of the school, particularly for mothers with children at home and no participation. Parents also felt that teachers who took the time to conduct home visits showed that they truly cared about their students, which influenced the parents' perception of the school. Another study found that Latino parents, especially mothers, love and appreciate being a true part of their child's education. And these home visits can help start that relationship between school and family, or even better, cement a relationship that's already being built. And hey, if it's scheduled around dinner time, you're going to get a fantastic meal and probably a plate to take home as well, because that's just how Latino families get down when it's dinner time. And look, more seriously, these home visits just show that there's a concerted effort in place for the teachers and the schools to become partners with the parents in their child's education. Without that effort, many Latino parents might feel rather isolated when they attempt to participate in schools, and we want to avoid that. All right, moving on to number 3. Personalize your communication as much as possible. So the next logical question is, how can and should you communicate with parents? Again, it's the all-important relationship piece. And so you should make your communication as personalized as possible. Latino parent involvement should be customized to specific families and their community, and to the specialized schooling needs of their children. So how can you communicate with parents? As a school and as an entire class, in my opinion, it should be weekly. That could mean in a newsletter, that could mean in an app, like such as WhatsApp, or that could mean an email. That could also mean a text, because smartphones are basically a human necessity at this point. Almost all parents, even ones without means, have smartphones. So for some teachers, this is the best way to communicate with parents. Now, when you want to speak individually with parents, it should be whenever necessary and whenever possible. And when I say whenever possible, this is perhaps most important. I'll go back to it again. Because really Latinos are relational people, human interaction and personal relationships still matter most. So principals, you should be out there every morning and every afternoon, when possible, of course, greeting students and waving to the parents, and perhaps greeting parents as well. Teachers, if you can ever be out there, that would be great as well. Even if you don't know the language, with immigrant parents, just a smile and a hello many times is enough. Hold their babies, talk to their teenage children, joke with their second grader. All of these little things make a big difference. I talked about it earlier with the successful school in Texas. That face-to-face communication, again, once coronavirus is over, it's just huge for these families. And then when it comes to academics, we have found that successful schools and successful teachers continuously inform parents, in Spanish if possible, about their children's academic process. This goes a long way in not only involving their parent in their child's education, but it gives parents more of a chance at helping to remedy any challenges the students might be facing. And by showing genuine interest in the academic success of their students, teachers will be showing parents how much they respect and care for their students, and in turn, parents will feel respected and accepted. At the beginning of the year, next August, have conversation with parents. Ask, what do you want from your child for this school year? You might be really surprised by their answers, and it might get you to learn and get to know the parents a little bit more. You can also ask yourself, do Latino parents have a voice in your school? Or if you're a teacher, do they have a voice in your classroom? Have you created an environment that encourages Latino parent involvement? Not merely asks for it, but encourages it. It's not an easy thing to accomplish, and it takes practice, but it's just something to think about, the difference between where you have to ask for it, but whether you're encouraging it, just that environment of encouragement. All right, let's move on to number 4, empower Latino families. On the same theme of creating environments for Latino parents to feel encouraged to volunteer and participate, and giving these parents a voice in the classroom and the school, schools that are successful in building partnerships with Latino families also empower Latino families. So let's talk about a few ways that you can do that. One thing you can do, principals, is start a madrinas group. Madrina means godmother in Spanish, and while we call these groups madrinas at the Latino Enrollment Institute, you can call them your Latino outreach coordinators or whatever you wish. But this is a group of moms or dads who help market your school to the Latino community, who help recruit families to your school, and who act as mentors to new parents. It can be one mom or dad, or it can be a group. Or if you want to go a different route, you can have a parent group that just helps plan events. You will see that that once you give them a task, they'll run with it, and oftentimes make it better than anything you could have dreamed of. They just need space and where they can work, and that feeling of empowerment that school leaders can give them. And teachers, you can have a parent group in your room as well, or a one mom or dad that's like kind of like your parent liaison to the Latino community. This is a type of group that you can give an idea to. They'll take ownership of it, taking it off your shoulders. And again, they'll make it better than something you could have even better than anything you could have dreamed of. Or if you have a message that absolutely needs to get out to parents, and you're not sure your communication is getting home to some of the parents, this mom or dad or group of parents can ensure that the message gets out and can save you a ton of time that you don't necessarily have. By empowering families, you are not only helping the school and the children, you're also helping yourself, as you are freeing yourself up to do more tasks that directly benefit the education of the students in your school or in your classroom. And after the year teachers have had, and parent and principals, I think it's a great idea to take some of that burden off starting next year or later this year. By empowering, it's about shared leadership, as you see on this screen. A process, shared leadership is a process that makes everyone feel involved and takes some of the burden off of overworked teachers and school leaders. It's something that many of our successful schools have implemented, and hopefully something you can look into as well. There are other things you can do to empower Latino parents. A school district in Beaverton, Oregon hosted a technology night for the Latino families. This could work not only for principals, but for teachers as well, if you want to do one for your own classroom. In this technology night, the school leaders established email accounts for parents who had never used email. They demonstrated how to access their students' attendance and academic records. This was particularly important because parents weren't doing that because they just couldn't figure out how to get on it. And getting to see their academic records every night was really successful for the school district. They showed them how to navigate the school district's webpage and how to switch it over to a version in Spanish. You can do the same thing for your school webpage. They created a webpage scavenger hunt that night for parents to practice locating essential information that they'd need. And they assured parents who had no computer experience that everyone was in this together. And it was extremely successful for them. The first time they did this, it proved to be a critical step in building stronger communications and a more participatory and inclusive school culture. This is something that we've encouraged our own schools to do, that we work with, and even classroom teachers to do early in the year, and it has been a great success to many. All right, number 5. Invite parents to serve on school advisory committees to express their cultural perspectives and voice their particular needs. This one's pretty self-explanatory and not something I need to spend too much time on, as it goes hand in hand with empowering families, which we just talked about in number 4. But schools really need to look into inviting parents to serve on school advisory committees to express their cultural perspectives and voice their particular needs. Oftentimes we fall prey to monolithic thinking, and we look at things from one point of view. Sometimes that forces us into bad decisions. Other times it forces us to make decisions that hurt or exclude the non-dominant culture. Sometimes accidentally, oftentimes accidentally. And other times we make short-sighted decisions that could be so much better if we had the perspective of a different culture. If Latino board members are better able to engage Latino children and parents in your school, diversity on the board could have a real positive impact on the educational progress of one of the most disadvantaged groups in the country and perhaps in your school. And really, this goes for any of the non-dominant cultures in your school, whether they are African American or Asian American or Brazilian American, Filipino American, or whoever. Representation matters. And of course, as my 9-year-old daughter often reminds me, make sure women are represented as well. Got to throw that in for Alyssa. Number 6, last one, train your teachers. Teacher training. Teachers should be trained on how to foster involvement from Latino parents. It's not just going to come naturally for everyone, especially those who are not immersed in the culture or who don't know the language. We can't just tell teachers this is an important initiative for the school and then expect them just to figure it out on their own. That's just not fair to them. It's like in sports. Kids don't just go out and play another team on the first day of the season. No, they're taught how to play by a coach during many practices, and when they're ready, then they do it. Principals, there's a lot of areas where your staff might not be as culturally proficient as they might want to be. You're going to have many staff members who might have never have gone through some of the things your students and their parents are going through absolutely no fault of their own. They might not know the different social norms of certain cultures. For example, when you tell a child, look me in the eyes when I'm talking to you, you might want to make sure that you might do that to make sure that they're listening to you. I do that with my own children. I say, look up, make sure that I want to see your eyes. Now, 5 seconds later, they forget what I told them, but still, I'm trying to get them to listen. But in other cultures, looking like Latino culture, when you look into the eyes of an adult that's scolding you, that's a certain sign of disrespect. And so they put their heads down. You teachers might not know that. And so that's just one little thing that you can do that they don't know, that you can help them with in their own classroom. So administrators, this is a great time to consider teachers training teachers in the area of cultural sensitivity and provide workshops and information regarding Latino culture. And in the context of this session, how to educate Latino parents on our system of education, how to respect the efforts Latino parents are making in their own homes to participate in their children's education, and how to give parents opportunities to participate in the classroom and in the school. I think it's no secret that this last year, cultural sensitivity and cultural awareness has just taken on a life, just a much bigger life in our society. And so there's more and more areas and avenues to educate your teachers in this very important subject. And if this presentation isn't too horrible, feel free to share this video or what you have learned to your staff and your friends in education as a place to start. And teachers, you can be proactive in this area as well. There's a wealth of information and literature online free of charge that can help you. Based on a 2009 study, teachers who have demonstrated high self-efficacy levels in their classroom can create classroom environments that provide substantial opportunities for family involvement activities. Therefore, information on how to involve Latino parents in school activities should be a part of a teacher's formal training. And so in closing, I implore you to be advocates for these parents and for these children. When another teacher complains that a Latino parent doesn't care about her child's education because she never goes on a field trip or doesn't help them with their homework, stop them in their tracks. If going on a field trip means that they might not be able to pay the electricity bill on time because they'd be missing work from their hourly job, then yeah, they should miss that field trip without feeling guilty. And as I said earlier, for some parents, carving out a quiet nook in a tiny crowded apartment so her son can do homework, that is participating in their child's education. That is helping him with his homework. So hopefully you learned a bit on why Latino parents might not be volunteering for school functions and how you can get these Latino parents to be partners with your school in the education of their children. If you have any questions or comments, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. My email is on the screen. Again, my name is Manny Fernandez, and I work for the Alliance for Catholic Education at the University of Notre Dame. Also on my screen is a gratuitous picture of my wonderful children. And if you give us a follow on Twitter if you get a second, we'd love that. Thanks so much for watching and for caring so deeply about all of your students. It truly is God's work that you are doing. So God bless you all. And of course, go Irish.